Well, good evening and greetings and salutations, everybody. This is my YouTube channel. My name is Roberto Botello, and I'm going to be talking all spoilers for Spider Man No Way Home. In case you don't understand what that means, I'm going to be going from the beginning to the end and talking about every single little tidbit that we saw in Spider Man No Way Home. And I just want to say right off the bat that I saw this movie 3 times the entire weekend. I saw it on Thursday at 3 o'clock, so that way I wouldn't be spoiled on anything. I saw it on Saturday with my wife and my daughter, and then I saw it for a third time on Sunday, on Sunday with my brother, my daughter, my dad, and my nephew in law. So, without further ado, I'm going to give you guys a bit of a chance to take it in and remind you this is a spoiler discussion, so we are going to be talking about everything that happens. Everything from Aunt May dying to the Peter Parker showing up. That's your warning right there. So without further ado, let's get into it. So, the movie picks up after the events of the second movie of Far From Home, where Mysterio, played by, uh, gosh, why am I freezing on his name now? He's Jake Gyllenhaal, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, outing Peter Parker as Spider Man. So it's basically okay. Well, as soon as you're done with Far From Home, you can go ahead and switch on to No Way Home or go out to the theater, and Peter and MJ are trying to find some sort of sanctuary away from everybody, because now that everybody knows that Peter is Spider-Man, they're all bombarding him, accusing him of killing Mysterio, trying to take matters into their own hands, grabbing him. There was one part in particular that triggered me, with a woman trying to grab onto Peter, and then whenever he kind of flung her away, she started crying, "Spider-Man hit me! He hit me! Spider-Man hit me!" That was a minor little trigger, because I know a whole bunch of people are like that. So they swing over into the sewers, into the subway, and they dodge a train before that Flash finds out that Peter is Spider-Man, and then that's whenever they manage to make it to Aunt May's house, and you learn that Happy and May have broken up. Happy's kind of crying, and Peter's trying to conceal the fact that the world knows that Peter's Spider-Man now. So they get. I'm just gonna straight up say shit. Shit hits the fan. Cat's out of the bag. They know Peter's now in jail. They're questioning him. Peter tries to say Nick Fury's been with me the whole time. He knows about it. Talk to him. They tell him Nick Fury's been off planet for like a year or something. I can't remember exactly how long it was, but holy cow! It the cameo that we get after the whole interrogation scenes, Matt Murdock, Daredevil, played by Charlie Cox. I kind of got spoiled by someone else that I watched, that Charlie Cox was going to be in this movie, as at least Murdock came to be true, but it still did not affect me. And with that being a big surprise, everybody in the theater room that I was in lost it on 3 separate occasions. They loved Charlie Cox's reveal. He's giving them legal advice. A brick comes through the apartment window. Charlie Cox catches it, insinuating that, yeah, he's Daredevil. It was pretty freaking awesome. And then you get some time with Zendaya and Tom Holland setting up how much they like each other on the webcams on their phones. Then they're showing up to school the next day, and you find out that some of the teachers have made kind of like a shrine dedicated to Spider-Man. It was pretty cool. And you have that one teacher who's kind of like the gym coach and the detention teacher. He's not part of the fan base. He's like, no, Mysterio is right. Oh, you built that. You built all that stuff, and I tried to stop you. So that was a pretty funny little bit. Peter and MJ and Ned are planning on going to MIT. That's their dream. But turns out that since they know Spider-Man, just by knowing him, they are not being allowed into any of the college dorms or any of the college campuses. So Peter feels bad, and that's when we go into the next part of the story where he goes and asks Doctor Strange to maybe go back in time and make it to where Mysterio never revealed his identity. Strange can't do that anymore, obviously, because the Infinity Stones have been reduced to atoms. So Wong's talking nearby, saying, "Oh, he'll just forget the whole thing happened anyway." And that's when Doctor Strange says, "Okay, well, we'll use a forgetfulness spell to make everybody forget that Peter Parker is Spider-Man." And Wong tries to tell him that spell tampers with unknown and known realities, and it's too dangerous to use. Strange convinces Wong. Wong says, "Look, just leave me out of it, because I'm the Sorcerer Supreme now. I don't want any of this crap to come back on me. If anything happens, this is on you. Excuse me, this is on you." So that happens. They go down into the Undercroft, and that's where Doctor Strange is trying to perform the ritual or the spell that will make everyone forget that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, including Doctor Strange. So everybody and anybody is going to forget. If they knew who Peter Parker was as Spider-Man, they're going to forget. So Peter's trying to say, well, maybe we should go ahead and let my girlfriend remain, aware that I'm Spider-Man. And that kind of is messing up the spell already. Then he's like, okay, I'll allow that. And then he's like, Ned needs to know. And you see the little symbol fly down. What's a Ned? So, okay, I'll go ahead and let that happen. Oh my goodness, I think Matt May should know. Oh my God, I think Happy should know. Everything goes to shit. So Strange manages to contain the spell, and it didn't even occur to Peter that he could ask MIT to maybe reconsider everything and only allow MJ and Ned to go back. So Strange is obviously pissed off. He's like, did you mean to tell me you asked me to brainwash an entire world without at least consulting with the college that to reconsider your claims? It's like, well, when you put it like that, and he goes off to the streets. So now Peter's trying to find, I guess it's the dean of the campus, to convince her to at least let Ned and MJ in because they haven't done anything wrong and he doesn't think it's right. So we get to the bridge. He's trying to plead his case, and that's where you see from the trailers, Dr. Octopus, played by Alfred Molina. Such a good moment. Alfred Molina has not missed a step since playing Dr. Octopus back in 2004. No, was it 2000? Yeah, 2004 in Spider-Man 2. I mean, it's like he just played the actor yesterday. That whole fight sequence was amazing. Where is my machine? It's like, what are you talking about? The power of the sun in the palm of my hands. Where is it? It was so good. The battle was amazing. Doc Ock manages to get a piece of the nanotechnology armor from Spider-Man, and it goes onto his arms, as you see in the trailer. But one thing that you don't understand, or I don't want to say understand, but the one thing you don't realize, and that Doc Ock doesn't realize, is that the machines paired up with Peter's Iron Spider suit. So now that he has linked the two suits together, he can control Dr. Octopus's arms and save the Dean from the car, and they get up to the top of the bridge, and he makes Dr. Octopus's arms wrap around him to hold him. That was actually a really clever way of being able to stop Dr. Octopus. But as soon as you think, okay, he's stopped, we're going to go to the next scene, guess who drops in? It is none other than the Green Goblin, Norman Osborn, Willem Dafoe himself, with the laughing. Amazing. And it was awesome because it was kind of like a little tease. It was like a little tease where, hey, here's the Green Goblin. He's about to fight Spider-Man. And we teleport into the Undercroft with Doctor Strange again, where Peter is looking. He doesn't know where he is, I guess. And that's where you get the intro into the Lizard, still voiced by the amazing. I'm probably gonna butcher his name, but Reese Ifans. Is it Reese Ifans or Rice Ifans? I'm not sure. I'm sorry for butchering his name, but tremendous actor. He did the voice, and you get to see him in person a little bit later. But you see Doctor Strange there, and that's when Doctor Strange is explaining to him, "You messed up my spell 5 or 6 times," and Peter's like, "Well, 5 times, but you messed up my spell. Now every single person that knows Peter Parker as Spider-Man is coming into our reality. So now we have to go and get these ones that squeaked in before I close the spell and send them back to where they came from." So Peter's like, "Well, I don't know how I'm going to do that. If people start finding out that I'm Spider-Man, and or that if people start seeing me fighting these villains as Spider-Man, I'm going to get in trouble." So he gives him this cool as hell magic upgraded web shooter where he shoots his webs. The light from Doctor Strange's magic shoots out, and you can teleport them into the little containment cells that they're being imprisoned in. So he goes off, he sets off into the woods. And the one thing that I actually kind of liked is that earlier in the film, somebody spilled, or somebody threw a whole bunch of green goo at Spider-Man. So now he can't get the goo out of his suit. So he has to turn it inside out in order for it to not show that green goo. So that's where you see in the trailers that black suit. It's actually his original suit. It's just turned inside out because he doesn't want that green goo to be all over the place. But he's swinging, and you can see on his chest that he has his phone taped up so MJ and Ned can look and see what he's doing at all times. And he gets to the place where he's having these disturbances, and that's where you meet Electro, Jamie Foxx reprising his role as Electro, and also making their entrance as they start fighting is excuse me, Sandman Thomas Haddon. Is it Hayden? Thomas Hayden or Thomas Haddon? But his first name's Thomas Hayden. I'm sorry, but such a good actor. I love him. He comes back as the Sandman and says, "Peter, it's me. It's Flint Marko. Do you remember?" "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not your Peter." "What do you mean I'm not? You're not my Peter. I'll explain later. Let's just take this guy out." So they're fighting. They manage to depower Electro for just a little bit, and they have this whole little discussion about it being Peter's fault that he's in the universe now. That was a funny little bit. Peter sends Electro into the Undercroft, and Sandman is like, "Whoa, what did you do? Did you just kill him? Like, what happened to him? What are you doing? Who are you?" He's like, "Dude, just calm down. I'll explain everything." "No, I won't calm down. I don't trust you. I don't know you." And that's whenever he puts him in the Undercroft as well. So now you got 4 of the 5 villains that are going to be in the climax in the Undercroft. Now we have a scene where Willem Dafoe, as the regular Norman Osborn, is trying to kind of get away from that persona of the Green Goblin. He has his helmet hanging there on the trash can, kind of similar to when Spider-Man 2, when Tobey Maguire wasn't able to use his powers and he leaves his suit in the trash can, and you see the scene of him walking away from the trash can. It's kind of the same thing, only this time it's Green Goblin, and he's conflicted with himself. He's afraid of his darker half, and he's telling him that, "I don't want to do this anymore." The Goblin's telling him he's a coward, so he's had enough. He takes a brick and he smashes the helmet, and it's obviously folly, because whenever he's running away, you hear the cackle by the Green Goblin, so you know he's still there. Cut to the next scene where Peter's done repairing all the damage from the Electro fight because he doesn't want to be blamed for anything. Aunt May calls him and says, "Hey, one of the guys that you're looking for is here." So Peter rushes to Aunt May's job at the feast building. I believe it's some kind of Salvation Army for the less fortunate. But anyway, he's running through that little cafeteria where you see in the trailers. He's got the black suit running through a cafeteria. He goes in to see May, and that's where Norman Osborn is. He's saying, "I'm confused. My house, someone's living in my house. I don't know where my son is." You kind of feel bad for the guy. So Aunt May's telling Peter he's lost, he needs some help, and Peter was saying we got to send him back because that's their destiny. It's not our job or responsibility to cure them. And Aunt May kind of gets a little upset. It's like, not your job. You have the power to help people. We should help him. And he's not sure he should do it. She takes Norman and Peter to the Sanctum Sanctorum, and before Peter leaves, she tells him, "Hey, he trusts you, and I trust you. I trust you too." I'm sure she, saying, "I trust you to do the right thing." So they go to the Undercroft. Norman is there talking to Dr. Octopus. Dr. Octopus is saying, "You died years ago. You should be dead." And then Sandman was saying, "You both should be dead. You both should be dead. You both died years ago." Jamie Foxx was saying that the lizard was turning everybody into lizards in the first Amazing Spider-Man movie. So there's those little connections, and that's when Doctor Strange gets there, puts Norman in the cell, and says, "Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and turn this shit off." And Peter would say, "Well, hold on a minute. If you send them back, they're gonna die." And Doctor Strange says, "It's not our concern. Their sacrifice, or the fate of the world, infinitely means more for their sacrifice." I can't remember the wording, but basically, it's not our problem. That's when Spider-Man steals the box, rushes outside, and we have our amazing freaking Doctor Strange versus Spider-Man battle. I'm going to be honest, I took some edibles before I watched the movie, and holy shit. I was just sitting there the whole time. As soon as they went into the mirror mention, I was sitting in my seat. Whoa! So good. I cannot believe how well they did that fight. It was a lot of fun, like a roller coaster ride. And the way the fight ends is Peter realizes, hey, the mirror dimension is basically just geometry. You can do geometry. You're great at geometry. So he starts webbing a whole bunch of rocks, and Doctor Strange is about to open up, or he opens a portal about to leave, and that's when Peter swoops in with his bunch of rocks coming in and not strangling him, but restricting Doctor Strange from being able to move. So he takes the box, he takes Doctor Strange's sling ring, and he exits the portal and tells him, "I have to try," and it closes. In the first viewing, every single person that was in that theater, standing ovation for how Peter outwitted Doctor Strange. I loved that scene. It was probably one of the best scenes that I've ever seen in cinematic history. I'm sure there has been many more, but for me at that moment, and at least right now that I can remember, so good. So we move on after that fight. Peter takes all the villains to Happy's apartment so that way he can come up with a way to help these guys, because apparently Happy stole, which is why Matt Murdock was kind of there. Happy kind of stole one of these fabricators that was in Stark Industries, and so Peter's going to use it to come up with some cures and help these guys and then send them back. He ends up helping Dr. Octopus by making a new chip and putting it in the back of his neck so that way he doesn't hear those voices and is being taken control over the AI anymore. Alfred Molina is such a good actor. I felt that relief whenever Peter helped him with the chip in the back of his neck. He made a little power dampener for Electro, so that way he would kind of absorb all that electricity in his body and make him a normal person again. Excuse me. But the part of that really starts to send everything sideways is when Dr. Octopus goes to Norman as he's working on a formula and says, "Are you ready? Are you ready to be your old self? No more darker half, just you." That's whenever you just hear Willem Dafoe from the back shot of his head, "Just me." So good. Oh, dude, Goblin's in there. He's gonna make shit happen. So that's whenever you get a close in on Tom Holland's face, and he's going through his Peter Tingle, his spider sense, and he notices that something's off, and he just says May, and he walks through not the whole, well, yeah, maybe the whole apartment, but the camera stood on his face. the whole entire time to get that tension. You see May, she's okay at one point. You see Norman and Octopus behind him at what point. He's looking at Sandman. He's looking at Electro. Why are you looking at me like that? Closes his eyes to try and focus, and that's whenever he thwips and catches Norman with a knife in his hand, stuck him to the wall. That's when, oh my God, I don't. I'm with a lot of people. I don't know if Willem Dafoe has ever won an Academy Award. I know he's been nominated. I wouldn't put it past the guy to have been nominated at all. But this performance that he gave by switching from regular Norman Osborn to the Green Goblin was awesome. Like with Alfred Molina never missing a step, being Dr. Octopus, you would never have guessed that Willem Dafoe ever took a step back and went all these years without playing Green Goblin. The performance is just amazing. He's sinister. He's making Peter kind of question. He says, I saw how she trapped you, making you fight her holy moral mission. Talking about how Aunt May was kind of pinning it on Peter, saying it's not our responsibility. We should help him. We can help him. And he goes on saying, these aren't curses. These are gifts. And saying that I've watched you from Norman's cowardly eyes, struggling to have everything you want while the world makes you choose. Gods, we don't have to choose. We take. And that's when the fight breaks out. Freaking Peter Parker, Green Goblin just going ham on each other, smashing each other through walls, throwing each other through windows. Tom Holland gets on top of Green Goblin's shoulders and just starts mollywopping his face, but Goblin just doesn't give a fucking damn. That laugh that he does in Peter's face before he just freaking power bombs the dude through the floor, so good. And all this chaos is ensuing, and we get to the bottom where where Green Goblin's choking the life out of Peter, and Aunt May comes in and stabs him in the neck. Stabs Green Goblin in the neck with the serum that they created, but it doesn't work. So now Green Goblin's pissed at Aunt May. He's staring down Aunt May, holding Peter's face up to show her, and says, you tried to fix me, now I'm going to fix you. And that's whenever we see a shot of Green Goblin's glider come outside the building, and as Aunt May's about to take another swing, the glider comes in and hits her in the back. She falls down. And that's whenever Green Goblin gets onto his gliders about to leave and says, Peter, 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 no good deed goes unpunished. You can thank me later. And takes a pumpkin bomb, throws it towards Aunt May, and Peter tries to stop it, barely gets it, and takes some of the explosion. And Green Goblin leaves and starts destroying some of the police cars that are outside. Now, this is a part that really got to me. Aunt May stands up. She's like, hey, are you okay? That was some crazy shit that happened. Are you okay? It's like, and Peter gets up and starts saying he's okay, and starts apologizing, say it's my fault. I should have listened to Doctor Strange. And Aunt May saying nothing, and Peter was saying that Goblin was kind of, I think he said Goblin was right, and she was talking about, my moral mission. Look, you have a gift. You have power. And with great power, there must also come great responsibility. Saying that line for the first time in the MCU history, with great power comes responsibility, that Tobey Maguire Spider-Man Uncle Ben uttered before he died. I don't think they said it in the Amazing Spider-Man movies, but if they said something along those lines, she says the line, she says, let's get the hell out of here, and she starts collapsing, she starts losing energy, she's tired, and she's leaving us. And the pain that Peter felt when Aunt May was leaving was, you could feel it. You could feel that despair and that sorrow and that pain that he was feeling And man, that was an emotional scene for me. I lost my mom in 2019. She was my great aunt, but to me, she was my mom. The way I took it from Peter is that he basically lost his mom, and it's something that I can relate to. I mean, I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad. I mean, it happened. It's just something that I can relate to, and it hit me hard enough for me to relate to him. So she dies. Peter can't believe it. He's like, "What are you doing? Will you just wake up and talk to me, please?" And she's gone. So we move on. It was actually kind of, I liked the transition. We go from the pain and the sorrow to something pretty exciting and funny. We go from Aunt May dying to a quick shot of Peter in the rain staring at the monitor with J. Jonah Jameson saying that everywhere Spider-Man goes, chaos ensues. So we he making Peter feel so much worse. And then we come to the scene where Mary Jane and Ned are still trying to get a hold of Peter, and MJ's like, "I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna push the button and I'm gonna send all these guys back." And that's when Ned's like, "Man," with the sling ring on his hand, he's like, "Man, I just wish we could see Peter." And he sees sparks in the middle of the room. So MJ's like, "Try that again." "I just wish we could see him," and more sparks and go out in the middle of the room. So now Ned has some powers. Ned is got some magic. So he starts using the sling ring. "I wish we could see Peter Parker," and you see a silhouette of Spider-Man, and you see him running, and as he's running you start to see the larger, wider eyes, and you know who Spider-Man that is. And as soon as that Spider-Man came in, everybody was cheering. But as soon as that mask came off and you saw that it was Andrew Garfield, that's when everybody erupted into louder cheers. So he's like, "I'm Spider-Man in my world. Now I'm here." MJ says, "Prove you're Peter Parker." So they have him stick to the wall, and then she asks him to crawl around. He's like, "What do you mean crawl around? I'm not gonna crawl around." So and Ned's mom says, "Hey, can you just go over there and get that cobweb from that corner?" So he crawls on the wall and gets it, and that's enough to convince MJ that he's Spider-Man. So they say, "Okay, let's just keep doing it until we find the right Peter Parker." So right there, and that's in your mind. "Oh my God, I think I know what's coming. I wish I could see Peter Parker." Another portal opens up, and in casual clothing, who else but Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man walks through. Oh my God, that crowd erupted once again. And then Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield kind of lock eyes, and Toby's like, or sorry, Wolf. I'm using their names to differentiate. Tobey Maguire's like, "Wait, he's not your friend." They kind of have a little bit more of a staring contest, and then boom, both Spider-Man thwip their webs. But Tobey Maguire, being the seasoned veteran that he is, thwips the Andrew Garfield spider web shooters because he's a goddamn goat. And Andrew, I'm sorry that I'm stuttering over myself. That was a pretty cool moment for me. Andrew Garfield was like, "Oh my God, you know your stuff." So that proves Peter Parker's Spider-Man, or Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. And Tobey Maguire was saying, "I've been here trying to find your friend since I got here. I feel like he needs my help." Andrew says, "Our help." And that's when they go and meet Tom Holland, Spider-Man, on the rooftop where him and MJ and Ned were at the beginning of the movie. He's still in pain from Aunt May's death. They come and they console him. And that's when MJ says, "Hey, there's some people here to see you." And so he's like, "What? Where are they?" And he looks up. That was a cool shot. That was actually a pretty cool shot of the school where you see the silhouettes of Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield on top of the school. They jump down, and they're telling Tom, "Hey, I'm sorry about Aunt May. I know how it feels." And he stops him right there. He's like, "Don't be telling me. You know how I feel. This is painful. I feel like I've lost everything. I'm sorry. I have to send them back to their deaths. If you want to kill them, that's on you. But I'm done. I'm done, and that's it." So he tries to take the box from MJ. She won't let him. And she says, "Listen, Tobey Maguire starts this whole spiel like, I lost my Uncle Ben by a shooter, and then they go to Toby, they're not Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, who I thought was also I thought it was gonna be a little comedic there. I'm glad they didn't. I thought he was gonna say, "Oh yeah, I lost my Uncle Ben too." Did not do that. He's telling Peter, "I lost Gwen. She was my MJ, and I have never been able to get over it. I tried to, but one day I stopped pulling my punches. I got bitter." So you know that maybe Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man might have actually killed someone as he was grieving for Gwen Stacy. If you haven't seen The Amazing Spider-Man 2, I mean, this is a spoiler discussion. She ends up falling down this building. He tries to thwip his spider web to catch her. He does catch her, but she's still too far along that the whip recoils, and she whiplashes her head onto the ground, and she ends up dying. So he couldn't save Gwen. And then Tobey Maguire says, "The night that Ben died, I chased after the killer who shot my uncle, and I wanted him dead, and I got what I wanted, but it didn't make it any better." So he's trying to have Tom Holland's Peter stray away from that road that he went down, because he knows there's nothing there to fill that void, even if you kill the guy who took your loved one. So good. And that's when Tom Holland says, "I want him dead, but there's a voice inside my head that just keeps telling me about what Aunt May said, and she told me before she died, with great power," and you see this close-up look on Tobey Maguire's face, "comes great responsibility." Looks over to Andrew, and Andrew knows. It's like, "How did you know?" Tom asks, "How did you know?" "Uncle Ben said that," Andrew says, "before he died." And Tobey Maguire being so good. It's like, maybe she didn't die for nothing, Peter. So now we got the full-on Peter Bros inside the lab, making all these remedies and these, ways to cure these villains. And it was such a cool moment seeing all three just go full science bro with each other. And everybody wanted that iconic meme with the Spider-Man just pointing at each other saying, "Hey, you're the fake one. You're an imposter." They do that in a really fun way where Ned calls out, "Hey, Peter." "What? Oh, sorry. Which Peter? We're all Peter." Like, "No, Peter Parker." "Oh, well, that doesn't really work. Well, are you talking about this one? Or are you talking about that one?" Such a good way to recreate that little meme. I could not believe it. So they make the remedies. They are going into the final battle, but before we get into the final battle, they have to take some more time to kind of discuss one another. Tobey Maguire says, "Oh, there it goes," and he's doing some stretches, trying to pop his back. Andrew Garfield says, "What? Are you okay?" He's like, "Oh yeah, just my back." from calling back to the 2002 or 2004 Spider-Man 2 when he fell from the building and was like, "My back, oh my back." So good. Then Andrew Garfield goes behind Tobey Maguire to lift him and crack his back, and you hear the pop. It felt so good. And they're just talking amongst each other with I'm sorry, I'm trying to remember everything that happened, but basically Peter was asking them, "Hey, oh, never mind." They start talking about Tobey Maguire's web shooters because he makes his naturally, and they're like, "Well, hey, can we talk about those web shooters?" "I don't really want to talk about this. Are you guys teasing me?" "No, we're not teasing you. It's just that we can't do that. So naturally, we're wondering if it only comes out of your wrists or if it comes out of other places." And he's like, "No, it's just my wrists." So. And it was like, Andrew Garfield said, "Have you ever had a web block?" He's like, "Well, what do you mean?" He's like, "Yeah, a web block. Whenever I'm making my web shooters, sometimes it gets blocked and it's a hassle." Like, everyone's like, "Oh yeah, well, now that you mentioned it, actually, yeah, I did. I had a web block." Like, it's like, what happened? Like, existential crisis. Oh, don't even get me started on that. Such a good banter between the two of them. And then Tom Holland's like, "Hey, what's the craziest villains you've ever fought. I think you've met a few of them. And then that's when Toby says, I once fought a alien made out of black goo, talking about the Venom from that universe in Spider-Man 3. And Tom Holland's like, oh yeah, I fought an alien. I fought an alien on Earth and in space. And Tobey Maguire is, oh, well, that's cool. Andrew Garfield chimes in, I want to fight an alien. Tobey Maguire says, well, I'm still trying to wrap my head around fighting an alien in space. And that's when Andrew Garfield's, man, I'm lame. I'm lame compared to you guys. I've fought a rhino, or I fought a Russian in a rhino outfit. It's like Tobey Maguire's like, can we just take a step back for a second about you saying you're lame? You are not lame. You're amazing. Like you are amazing. You are amazing. It's such a good spill between the two. And then that's when the actual fight goes down. Spider-Man taking on I don't want to say Sinister Six. We'll say the Sinister Five. Taking on the Sinister Five. They start trying to coordinate with each other, but they didn't really determine before the fight which Peter was which Peter, So they're kind of struggling whenever Andrew tries to thwip his spider web. He ends up hitting Maguire in the face, and it's just kind of sloppy. So they go back to each other like, oh, what's going on? I thought I was Peter 2. You were Peter 1. No, I thought you were Peter 3. I'm Peter 1. It's like, stop. We gotta work this out. And then Andrew's like, yeah, I know we suck. I don't know how to work in a team. Toby says, me either. Tom says, well, I have worked in a team. I don't want to brag, but I will. I've worked with the Avengers. And Toby says, the Avengers? That's great. What is that? Is that a band? Andrew says, is that a band? Are you in a band? It's like, no, that's not a band. It's the Earth's Mightiest Heroes. And Tobey Maguire shouts, how's this helping? It's like, and so Tom says, okay, we got to take them, or we got to work together as a team. And then Toby says, okay, we'll take one target down at a time. So Tom Holland says, I'm Peter 1, Toby's Peter 2, Andrew Peter 3. Okay, so let's do this. You gotta have that huddle and break moment. And that's when you see all three Spider-Man run out into the open, jumping into the sky. That iconic scene that I'm sure a lot of people are going to be screenshotting of the three Spider-Men together. So awesome. So they take out Sandman first. It's cool how they actually do some of these little gizmos to cure these guys, because if you remember how Sandman was created, there was that huge machine that had those three prongs spinning and working with the sand. This little device is a miniature version of that. So he grabs it, and you see the three prongs spinning, and it changes Sandman back into human form. So they take care of him. Excuse me. They're trying to take down, I believe it's Electro, but he's too strong. He can't. He's overpowering the three Spider-Men, and that's when Doc Ock comes in and is kind of restraining them too. But if you remember, they helped him out. He's still a good guy, so he backstabs Electro by taking off the arc reactor that's giving him power and putting on that dampener back on to make Electro lose his powers. So that's 3 out of the 5 right there. Then the Lizard tries to attack Tom and ends up biting the vial that has the formula to restore Dr. Connors to his old self. Breaks. He smells the fumes, and that's whenever Ned opens a portal to try and bring back Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange comes back, and they're telling him, hey, wait, hold, you don't have to detonate the box. Peter's plan's working. So he sees that it's working. He flies up to talk with the Spider-Man. Tom Holland's like, hey, no, it's okay. These guys, they're me. That's Peter. That's Spider-Man. That's Peter-Man, Spider-Man. And he says, look, I'm glad that you helped everybody out, but this has to end now. And that's when Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin, flies in. Can Spider-Man come out to play? Takes the box. Dr. Octopus tries to hold on to the gliders. Strange does his own thwip to bring back the box. Norman cuts off Octopus's arm, and that's whenever you see and the three Peters sense, oh my God, there's a pumpkin bomb in the box. It explodes. Now everything's going to shit. The multiverse is, cracking the skies with this purple purple freaking cracks. It's basically like the dimension where Dormammu lives, only it's ripping through space time and into the sky, and you see all these silhouettes. I saw Rhino after I saw a silhouette from Kraven the Hunter. I heard the tiger roar as well. That was pretty cool. So the box is broken. Doctor Strange is trying to contain it, and that's whenever the final fight between Tom Holland's Spider-Man and Willem Dafoe's Goblin happens. It is just almost as brutal as that first fight that we saw, only it's not in a building, so it's more fist to fist brawling. And holy crap, that over and into the last ride powerbomb. I don't know if that's from one of the Spider-Man games or this recent game, but that looked clean as hell. So he power bombs the shit out of him. He's beating the crap out of his face, and that's whenever Tom Holland picks up the glider and he's about to impale him, and wouldn't you know it, Tobey Maguire, just in the nick of time, stops the glider because he knows he's seen it before. He doesn't want to see it ever again. He's trying to stop him from impaling him, and he doesn't say anything. He's just sitting there staring at him, and you can tell he's like, "Don't do it, kid. It's not what you want." And that's whenever Green Goblin stabs Tobey Maguire in the back and starts taunting Tom. Says, I may have dealt the killing blow, but you are the reason why Aunt May died. And you see Peter still wants to kill him, so Andrew tosses the serum and he stabs him in the neck and he cures Norman. So everything's good now. And some of us were thinking, oh, Tobey Maguire's gonna die, but Andrew Garfield was like, hey, are you okay? Oh yeah, no, I've been stabbed before. So now they have to worry about the multiverse cracking open and all of these villains who know that Spider-Man coming into our reality. And that's when Peter says, well, can you still make everybody forget who Peter Parker is? And Doctor Strange tells him, if everybody forgets who Peter Parker is, it's going to be like you never existed. And he realizes there's really no other way to deal with this except for erasing Peter Parker from everyone's memory. So he has to go. He says his goodbyes to the Spider-Men. He goes and tells Ned and MJ, hey, you guys are going to forget me. And the pain that Zendaya showed on her face, saying, I don't want to do this. What if it doesn't work? There's got to be another way. There's always another way. I don't want to do this. I don't want to forget you. What if I don't remember you? And he has to ensure her, I'll come find you and I'll make you remember. So the spell happens. We cut to probably a few days later. Peter Parker walks in to the diner that MJ was working at, and he can tell as they walk by, or as Ned walks by, she looks at him and they don't know who Peter is. And Peter has a little piece of paper trying to rehearse of what he's going to say. It's like, hi, you don't know me, but I'm Peter Parker. And basically trying to make her remember who he is. But he notices how happy they are and how safe they seem to be without the knowledge of Peter, or Peter being Spider-Man, so much so that he decides to not tell MJ that he loves her. And that's another scene that kind of got me. I thought that was a really beautiful scene. Reminded me of, I can't remember the name of the movie, but the Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, I think it was. Such a good movie. It reminded me of that. And then we go to a scene where Peter is visiting Aunt May's grave. And Happy shows up, and you forget that he doesn't know who Spider-Man is now, but he asks him, how'd you know her? And Peter tells him, well, through Spider-Man. And Happy says, well, yeah, I went through this once. I lost a friend of mine. It felt the same. Peter says, well, I know everything that she touched will live on. And it was a beautiful scene. And then cut to the final scene where he gets his apartment, and you hear the landlord or renter in the background saying, rent's due at this time of the month, don't be late. I so wanted Mr. Dinklage to be there and wanted to hear him ask for the rent. Didn't get it, but it's okay. We still got an awesome movie. Cut to a scene of Peter sewing his own Spider-Man suit because he doesn't have the fabricator anymore. And then you see the final shot is Peter running through New York City in his comic book iconic self-made Spider-Man suit, and that's how it ends. That was it. It was such a good movie. It has some problems. It does have problems. It has plot holes that I'm pretty sure we'll discuss later, but so good. I really enjoyed this film. It's the best Spider-Man movie, in my opinion, that the MCU has made. I kind of feel like Spider-Man 2 with Alfred Molina as Doc Ock and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse are just a little bit higher than No Way Home, but that's just my opinion. You could have a different opinion than me, and that's fine. And the post-credit scene. Sorry, we almost forgot to talk about post-credit scenes. So the first post-credit scene, if you haven't seen Venom: Let There Be Carnage, the ending post-credit scene in that one is them at a motel or resort in Mexico, and all of a sudden the room starts shaking and everything starts vibrating and changing, and now he sees on the TV Tom Holland has been outed as Spider-Man. So that's where the post-credit scene of Let There Be Carnage is. This one is Tom Hardy in a bar in Mexico, kind of trying to understand. It's like, okay, you mean to tell me that this universe has all these super people, and that one of these guys in an iron suit was one of them? And you got the bartender's kind of like, oh yeah, rest in peace, Tony Stark. And so Tom Hardy's like, I think I'm gonna have to go talk to this Spider-Man. And that's whenever the light starts shining around him, and he gets teleported back to his own reality. But that's not all. It starts going into a little bit of close up where he's sitting, and that's where you see a little notch of black goo sitting there, and then it moves a little bit. So now it's confirmed. Tom Holland's probably going to get the symbiote spider suit in one of these next 3 sequels that's coming out. And then the final scene is basically a Doctor Strange 2 trailer. It's amazing. The special effects are top notch like always, but the real big money shot for me was the Dark Doctor Strange, the evil sorcerer supreme Doctor Strange that we have seen in the What If series. If you've been watching, it seems like they were kind of, pre-programming that in our minds so that way we'd be ready for something like that. I'm excited for Doctor Strange 2, but after getting all that out of the way, what did you guys think? Did you guys enjoy the movie? What was your favorite part of Spider-Man No Way Home? It made $254 million in the box office. It is a huge success. And if you were watching this and you haven't seen it yet, I implore you, I beg you, please go watch this movie. See it on the biggest screen possible. And I guarantee you will at least like the film for what it is. So that's it for me, guys. It's sorry it took me so long to get a video out there. I've been dealing with a bunch of off-screen personal problems that have been going on, but I've taken care of that. Everything's great now. So I'm going to try and be busting out some more videos in the future. I've seen Red Notice with Ryan Reynolds, Dwayne Johnson, and Gal Gadot. I've seen Ghostbusters. I've seen Encanto. I'm going to see The Matrix when it comes out soon. So I'm going to try and work hard and get some more videos out there. But for me, Spider-Man No Way Home is definitely 2 thumbs way up. And I do recommend everyone seeing this film at least once. So that'll do it for me, everybody. Again, if you are new to the channel, I am on Twitter at It's Frog Splash. I'm on Twitter at Roberto Boteo. I am on Instagram. I believe that is It's Frog Splash because I'm a wrestling fan and I love Eddie Guerrero. And I am also on Twitch at It's Frog Splash. So plenty of places to chill with me if you want to talk anything movies, anime. What did you guys think about the film? Did you like it? Did you not like it? So comment on the comment section down below. And until next time, guys, bye-bye.